Hi guys, it is Kyo the Kyoster here with another movie zone. Tonight I'm going to talk postmodern films, and I'm going to have clips of many postmodern films, and I am going to do a top 10 countdown of the greatest futuristic movies of the 1980s and 1990s. We are in a period of time these days that are very uncertain times. It's around that period that all the movies that were futuristic movies in the 80s were made, and the place they went to, the year they went to, was very much a lot of the time 2017, 2019, 2020 and beyond. So when you think about that, and you think about all the different ideas and different philosophies out there, it's definitely, it's fun to think about that, all these things happening now. And they're just on Monday there was classified sightings of UFOs and stuff that the US government actually uncovered, or they released it to the public. So that's interesting stuff. I don't know too in depth about it, but I really think it's weird stuff, and it could come to, who knows, you know what I mean. And when you think about the events of the coronavirus, of course, and all that, the terrible tragedies to do with that, you wonder, all this stuff is coming to be, and stuff that was predicted in films over the years is really coming to light these days. So I thought very apt to do a show about postmodernism, if you like, or about futuristic movies. And I love the movie period in the 80s and 90s, where you had such great films like the Terminator movies and the RoboCops and the likes of other great films like Dark City and stuff like Back to the Future even, but that's not on my list because that's more of a comedy. But stuff like the likes of Mad Max, the Mad Max trilogy of the 80s, and so many great movies. I've excluded superhero movies in this because that's a whole different genre these days. This top 10 is basically action adventure, sci-fi movies from the 80s and 90s, which I like to call futuristic or postmodern movies of the 80s and 90s. So I'm gonna go down the list. I'm going to show you a trailer for each film as I go down the list on this show, this episode of the Movie Zone. And the episode could last up to about 40 minutes, I'd say, with all the trailers involved. So I hope you enjoy. We're going to get started on this countdown. Number 10 is a film that starred Sylvester Stallone. It was directed by Danny Cannon. It was a 1995 movie. It also featured Jennifer Connelly in an early role of hers, and also featured Rob Schneider, famous comedy actor, and that was one of the early roles for him as well, actually. The film is called Judge Dredd, and it was about a dystopian future of the law was very much, the law became like robotic and stuff, and everything became really neo-noir, if you like. So yes, here is Judge Dredd.
As a city, we continue to grow.
73 citizen riots.
Come and get us! Throw down your weapons and prepare to be judged! Judge this!
Court's adjourned.
Ready?
You're a legend. You are my finest student.
Get Dredd!
You're under arrest.
What's the charge?
Murder.
The evidence has been falsified!
Guilty as charged.
I never broke the law! I am the law!
You want chaos?
The sentence shall be life imprisonment.
I'm the chaos. Dredd?
Let me crush him, paw!
Excuse me? We're not together.
It's not for this council to play God.
Who says politics is boring?
coming.
I'll be the judge of that.
Dredd, look out!
Okay, so you've seen Judge Dredd there, featuring Sylvester Stallone. We will have another entry with Stallone involved in the show before we finish. Number 9 on the list is a film that is really cool, very neo-noir once again, and also very post-apocalyptic dystopian style stuff. And it is Kiefer Sutherland is in this one, and it is called Dark City. And it's a real cult classic. A lot of people really into this one and watch it over and over. It's a real cult classic, as they say. And it is a 1998 movie. Here is Dark City. Okay, so the list looking good so far. I think you may agree. Number 8, I should say, on my list. It was a film series, very successful film series, but the 1985 entry to this film series featured Mel Gibson. It was Tina Turner, and it was a post-apocalyptic, but in a different sense. It was very much like things had gone back to the times like prehistoric times, but then you had other aspects of post-apocalyptic that became, there was a lot of modernism in it as well. So it is, of course, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, the third installment of the Mad Max series. There was Mad Max 1 in 1980, I believe, Mad Max 2 in 1982, and then you had Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome in 1985. Mad Max 2, of course, had the the sub-heading. It was Mad Max 2 Road Warrior, that's right. So, Mad Max, of course, some mad outfits in that one, and some crazy vehicles, and it was a really road movie. A lot of great music from that movie, of course, featured Tina Turner and the Thunderdome tune that she done. I think it was, what was it called? Yeah, Tina Turner Thunderdome, something like that. But it was a really good song. I play it often in my radio show. So this is Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome. And of course, you may recall Fury Road was the fourth movie that was out a few years ago. And let's go to the trailer.
The world had been through a trial by fire, and only the greatest warriors and their deadliest enemies emerged from the flames.
Who are you?
Nobody.
Oh, mister, I can feel it. The dice are rolling.
He was the one they called Mad.
But he's just a raggedy man.
But to those whose lives hung in the balance,
Where's the waiting ones? Waiting for what? Waiting for you.
he was the one they called hero.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Now, Mad Max is back in Beyond Thunderdome. Mel Gibson, Tina Turner, Mad Max.
Okay, well, that was Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Right, so now number 7 on my list is a film that is very cool. It's another Sylvester Stallone movie. It features also Sandra Bullock, and as the antagonist in this one, the legendary Wesley Snipes. And Stallone and Snipes up against each other. 1993 classic, and a film that is really it predicted the future. This movie, one of the predictions was in fact that the Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to go on and become a politician in the 2000s, which actually went on and happened. So you may recall, of course, The Simpsons have predicted so many things over the years. There you go. Hey guys, back here. It's daytime now. So before there, I was talking about Demolition Man, the number 7 on our list of the top 10 futuristic postmodernism type films of the 80s and 90s. Great topic for today's world. Weird world, you know, unfortunate what's going on, but might as well make the most of it by putting out a few videos that are kind of in line with it. So, Demolition Man, Wesley Snipes, Sylvester Stallone, Sandra Bullock, sorry. Here's the trailer.
At the end of a century, ravaged by violence, a society of perfect order will arise. Criminals will be frozen and reprogrammed in cryogenic prisons.
The prisoners are ice cubes. Their criminal instincts are being reprogrammed as they sleep.
Aggression and deviant behavior will be totally eliminated.
He's a criminal the likes of which you have never seen. In a bad time, he was the worst.
I'm gonna love running this place.
But in the year 2032...
This morning, Simon Phoenix escaped from this cryo facility. We are, quite frankly, not equipped to deal with the situation.
Amidst a world of peace and calm...
We're police officers. We're not trained for this kind of violence.
How was the fiendish Simon Phoenix apprehended back in the 20th?
In the end, it took just one man. John Spartan.
You mean the Demolition Man?
The conditions of your parole are full reinstatement into the SAPD and immediate assignment to the apprehension of Simon Phoenix.
2 mortal enemies.
Just dropped in to say hi.
From another time.
Pass is over, John. Time for something new and improved.
Oh, hell. Will be unleashed on a future that isn't big enough for the both of them. Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes, Demolition Man.
Okay, so great film there, Demolition Man, and really cool film from back in 1993. It was set in the future. It was really, really top-notch in my opinion. Great action style film of the 90s. Number 6 on my list is a film that was a film series. The first one in 1987. And this one was really different. It was directed by Paul Verhoeven, who of course brought us Total Recall, which is also on this list. Not yet though, because that's a great film. This one is RoboCop. Story of this guy. He's in the police force. They decide to make him more futuristic, decide to make him robotic, kind of make him half robot, half human, because he was killed in an accident, and then he was transformed into this half robot, half human, which led to him being RoboCop. Really interesting concept for a movie, and it's definitely cool stuff. Here is the first RoboCop.
We get the best of both worlds. The fastest reflexes modern technology has to offer, onboard computer-assisted memory, and a lifetime of on-the-street law enforcement programming. It is my great pleasure to present to you RoboCop. This guy is really good.
He's not a guy, he's a machine.
Old Detroit has a cancer. Cancer is crime.
Let the woman go. You are under arrest.
You better back up, pal!
Your move, creep.
What are your prime directives?
You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney.
What is this shit?
Anything you say may be used against you.
He's a cyborg, you idiot! He recorded every word you said.
You're dead! We killed you!
His memory's admissible as evidence. You're gonna have to kill it.
Get in the car, for God's sake!
RoboCop, the future of law enforcement.
Of course, that film spawned some sequels. I'm going to come back at you with a couple of honourable mentions on this list. Here's the first one.
Why would anybody watch a scum show like Videodrome? Why did you watch it, Max? Business reasons. Sure. What about the other reasons?
Max Wren is a victim.
I woke up with a headache.
He has been exposed to Videodrome.
I've been hallucinating for a while, ever since... What? Since I first saw Videodrome.
His brain is already receiving video images.
I think that massive doses of Videodrome signal will ultimately produce and control hallucination to the point that it will change human reality.
Soon, his visions will coalesce and become uncontrollable flesh. Videodrome is seducing Max Wren.
Please, come to me now. Come to Nikki.
And Max Wren can do nothing to stop it.
What makes you think I need help? None of our test subjects has returned to normality.
Television can change your mind. Videodrome will change your body.
Long live the new flesh.
It will shatter your reality. Videodrome, starring Deborah Harry and James Woods. A shocking new vision from the creator of Scanners. Coming soon to a theater near you from Universal Pictures.
Alright, so that was Videodrome, which was a movie from back in 1983 starring James Woods. Another really weird, out there, sci-fi style film. Okay, so moving on now, another honourable mention in this show, the top 10 futuristic movies of the 80s and 90s. And the next honourable mention, we've done our top 5, a couple of honourable mentions now. So the next one is a film, or it's a series of films. I didn't want to include any of these films because they're so famous and they're kind of a genre of their own at this stage. The Star Wars movies. Of course, the first one back in the 70s, there was a few of them. I think it was 2 Star Wars movies in the 80s, the Return of the Jedi and The Empire Strikes Back. And then, of course, the Episode 1 came out in 1999, of course, featuring Liam Neeson, among others, Ewan McGregor and such. I'm going to play a little YouTube video now that I came across, and this is all about the timeline, and chronological order timeline of the Star Wars movies. Here we go.
Hey everyone, I'm Matt Singer, and this is Screen Crush. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is being sold as the final chapter of an epic story, judging by the trailer's taglines. There's even a TV spot that's just called End. After 40 years, the stars will no longer be at war.
Wars not make one great.
A lot of fans are going to prep for the finale with a rewatch, or maybe even a first viewing in some cases, of the entire Star Wars series. But what's the right way to binge these movies? You could watch the films in order of release, starting with the original Star Wars, then proceeding through The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and then slog through the prequels before hitting the new Disney productions like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Or you could watch chronologically, starting with The Phantom Menace and the prequels, then hitting Solo, Rogue One, and the original trilogy, before concluding with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. My advice? Don't do either. Instead, I'd like to propose a somewhat radical reordering of the movies, one that shifts certain films around in the timeline and avoids others entirely.
This is very, very bad.
My preferred Star Wars saga gives you all the killer with the least possible filler. That way you can understand everything that happens while avoiding all monologues about sand.
It's coarse and rough.
Here's my recommended Star Wars viewing order. Number 1, Rogue One.
Of course.
Now, Rogue One isn't the best Star Wars movie, but for my money, it's the best first Star Wars movie. It's maybe the single best looking film in the entire franchise, and it also does a good job of introducing us to the beauty and the weirdness of the Star Wars galaxy. It's also the Star Wars film that most feels like it's set during a war among the stars. The final battle sequence is intense, disturbing, and communicates the enormous stakes of the conflict at the heart of the series.
Your Highness, the transmission we received.
Seeing these sacrifices makes the heroism in the later movies mean that much more. And the end of the film flows perfectly into number 2, A New Hope.
What is it they've sent us?
Hope.
Rogue One concludes moments before the first Star Wars, so they really should be watched one after the other.
Secret mission plan.
While the original film's special effects are clunkier than the slick visuals of Rogue One, they actually work well together. We go from the front lines of this intense conflict to the backwater, or maybe no water, planet where a humble farm boy dreams of adventure.
You know of the rebellion against the Empire?
Then, number 3, The Empire Strikes Back. After A New Hope, it only makes sense to move directly into The Empire Strikes Back, continuing the saga of Luke, Han, and Leia. But Empire ends on the saga's greatest cliffhanger, with Han frozen in carbonite and Luke wounded after fighting Darth Vader, who was his father all along.
What?
Rather than immediately resolving that big mystery, I suggest you instead flash back in time to learn the partial origin of Vader's shocking revelation to Luke. So, on to number 4, Revenge of the Sith. Now that you know Vader is really Luke's father, spoilies! This is the perfect time to watch his history. You can skip the first 2 prequels, there's nothing in there for you but janky CGI, stilted dialogue, and Watto.
The Jedi! What do you know?
Revenge of the Sith is not only the best of the prequels, it lets you sample the stuff that's actually good in all those movies, including the dynamic lightsaber battles and its bleak view of democracy in action.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
The Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight that caps it all off is still probably the best lightsaber fight in the entire series. Slotting Revenge here preserves Vader and Obi-Wan's secrets until after the other movies reveal them, and brings additional context to the next movie, number 5, Return of the Jedi. George Lucas loved to say that the original and prequel trilogies rhymed. that each spoke to and echoed the other.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
The best way to enjoy the rhymes are to watch a prequel trilogy movie and its original trilogy movie back to back. So that's what we're doing here with Revenge of the Sith and then Return of the Jedi.
Good, Anakin, good.
We get to see how the Emperor manipulated Anakin in Revenge.
Good.
And then watch him fail to do the same to Anakin's son.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Now let's take a little interlude for number 6, The Mandalorian. Now you don't need to watch the new Star Wars TV show. So far at least, it hasn't included any plots or characters essential to the conclusion of the larger story, but it actually makes a nice intermezzo. The old school effects, like that adorable baby Yoda puppet, are very much in the style of Return of the Jedi. Plus, even when the entire season is done, it will only run you a breezy 4 hours long. The whole thing's barely longer than The Irishman.
It's what it is.
Number 7, The Force Awakens.
Chewie, we're home.
Once The Mandalorian's done, it's time to watch the new trilogy. The only other place I can imagine watching The Force Awakens is immediately after A New Hope.
Luke Skywalker. I thought he was a myth.
But that would spoil a lot of the stuff in between, like whether Han escapes from the clutches of Jabba.
Your game is old. There's no one in the galaxy left for you to swindle.
And finally, number 8, The Last Jedi. After Force Awakens, you go right into The Last Jedi. Like Rogue One and A New Hope, these films are set seconds apart. And that's it. You might be wondering about the Star Wars movies that didn't make this list. Am I really suggesting you just skip The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Solo? Yes, just skip The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Solo. Seriously, you don't need them. There's nothing you have to know in any of them to understand any of the other movies. And in a lot of cases, the information they do provide, how Han Solo got his name, midichlorians,
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
actually detract from the overall experience. Why torture yourself? Just watch the good ones. And then finally, The Rise of Skywalker. So what do you think? Am I onto something? Am I high on death sticks? Do you have an even weirder Star Wars viewing order you prefer? Let me know in the comments. However you decide to embark on your rewatch of the entire Star Wars franchise, may the Force be with you.
And from Star Wars, we go to Star Trek. And this next film I'm going to show a clip of is another honourable mention on my list. I would have put it probably in my top 10, but I decided to leave it out of the top 10 because there's a lot of other films worthy of the positions more than this one. But this is one of my favourite franchises over the years. Definitely, I've followed the series over the years, and I've also really loved the movies. The first 6 movies were, of course, from the original cast, and then the 4 movies after that in the 10 movie series of films were from the Next Generation cast. And what I'm talking about is, of course, Star Trek. And Patrick Stewart, along with Jonathan Frakes, and Michael Dorn, and so many other big names in this one. Brent Spinner playing Data, of course. But Picard, of course, was played by Jean-Luc Picard, played by Patrick Stewart. The Star Trek movies, it's the first of the Star Trek Next Generation movies came in 1994, just after the series finished, the Next Generation series. 7 series, of course, 7 seasons of the series. Very good series, but the films were pretty cool too. First 2 were my 2 favourite. The first 2 are mentioned on the show. First one was Star Trek Generations. It featured Patrick Stewart as Picard, as one of the main characters. The other main character was James T. Kirk, of course, brought back, of course, by the very famous actor William Shatner. All the other Star Trek Next Generation guys and girls in this movie, and a few of the original Enterprise, the original series people in the movie also. But no Dr. Spock and a few other big names didn't come into this movie, but Scotty and Bones McCoy, a few of the others were in this film. So this is a clip now of Star Trek Generations.
In space, there is no beginning and no end. But in one uncharted corner of our galaxy is a corridor to another world. A nexus where time and space collide, past and future connect. And two generations will meet to join forces in a battle to save the universe.
I take it the odds are against us and the situation is grim.
You could say that. Sounds like fun.
Care about weapons or power. He just cares about getting back to the Nexus.
The star is going to collapse in a matter of minutes.
That'll destroy everything in this system.
Population?
230 million, sir.
Why would he destroy a star? I have to stop him, but I can't do this alone. I need help.
I know someone who can.
You say history considers me dead. Who am I to argue with history?
You're a Starfleet officer. You have a duty.
I don't need to be lectured by you. I was out saving the galaxy when your grandfather was in diapers.
Now, the torch of adventure is about to be passed. Eliminate them.
Klingon vessel decloaking directly ahead, sir.
Target their bridge!
Full disruptors!
Let's go! Bridge, we have a new problem!
All right, let's move them out. Let's go. Take them out.
10 seconds to warp core breach.
All hands, brace for impact!
Let's try and cheat death together.
Warp 1, engage!
Star Trek Generations.
Okay, there you go. Star Trek Generations. Probably between that and First Contact are my two favorite Star Trek movies ever. I didn't like the revamped series of movies that started in 2009. Wasn't into that trilogy at all, but I do really enjoy the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. I enjoy all of them, and I do enjoy the Star Trek movies. Okay, well, coming up now, it is go back into our countdown. At number 5, going to bring you the top 5 now, here on CKTV on YouTube. It is the top 10 postmodernism or futuristic movies of the 80s and 90s. Okay, so number 5 on the list is another very good film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger from back in 1987, The Running Man. And of course it is about this guy who had, it's set in the future. It's actually set in, I think it was 1997, was it? Set in it was set in 2017, and that's already passed. It's funny. So it's about this game show, and it's a life and death style game show, like Russian roulette type thing. And this guy that Schwarzenegger stars as is the guy who has to go into this game show and beat the game, or else he dies. So it features the legendary former wrestler and Navy SEAL and TV show host and governor of Minnesota, Jesse the Body Ventura. He is the antagonist in this film. It also features a few other very familiar faces from 80s action movies. Let's have a look now at number 5 on our list, The Running Man.
In the year 2017, an innocent man accused of a crime has a choice. Hard time or prime time.
Sensational. Perfect contestant. I want him.
He must pay or play the running man.
On your mark.
I'll be back.
Go!
The highest rated TV show in history.
Guess they want us to stay.
It's a game between life and death. Can you lift? Arnold Schwarzenegger is the running man. eyes is his life.
How about the lights?
The Running Man.
Okay, so there you go. Another big movie of the 1980s, and it was out, of course, in 1982. A big sci-fi hit, a real cult classic, if you like. And it has spawned a sequel, which came out just a couple of years ago. But I'm talking about Blade Runner. Blade Runner, of course, all about replicants and like human cloning type stuff. It starred Harrison Ford, and it also features Rutger Hauer as the antagonist in this one. Of course, Blade Runner spawned that sequel, Blade Runner 2049, which also featured Dave Bautista in the new version. I believe the other big star in the new version was Ryan Reynolds. But right now, let's have a look at the legendary movie and cult classic, Blade Runner.
I need you, Dex. This is a bad one, the worst yet.
There was an escape from the off-world colonies 2 weeks ago. 6 replicants, 3 male, 3 female. They slaughtered 20...
A Blade Runner's job is to hunt down replicants. Manufactured humans you can't tell from the real thing.
What's this? Roy Batty. Probably the leader.
There was just one outfit making replicants that superhuman. The Tyrell Corporation.
Mr. Deckard, Dr. Eldon Tyrell.
I don't get it, Tyrell.
Commerce is our goal here at Tyrell. More human than human is our motto.
I was looking for 6 replicants in a city of 106 million people.
You ever see this girl, huh?
Never seen a Buzzlove.
What I didn't know was they were looking for me.
Questions?
I just do eyes. Genetic design. Just eyes.
Hello?
I'm in a bar here now, down in the 4th sector. Why don't you come on down here and have a drink?
That's not my kind of place.
Time to die.
If I didn't care more than words can say, if I didn't care, would I feel this way? If this isn't love, then why?
Excuse me, Miss Salome, can I talk to you for a minute?
You for real?
He's a damn one-man slaughterhouse.
I'm going home.
Remember, guys, you can tune in to my radio show, Kyoster Live, on Mixlr.com. Usually on a Friday or Monday night. I'll keep you informed on social media. You can follow my Facebook page, my Twitter, and my Instagram. I usually have a advertisement up about it. That's Kyoster Live on Mixlr.com. Welcome back to the show. You are watching the Movie Zone here on CKTV and YouTube. We are counting down the top 10 futuristic movies of the 80s and 90s. And joined fourth, you've seen there, we are at on the fourth place in this one now. And joined fourth, along with the film you just seen before the break, is a great film from Luc Besson, the French director. It was a French released film back in May 1997. Starred Bruce Willis, also starred Mila Jovovich, and also featured an array of other big names in the movie, including a very young, or actually he was in a few films in the 80s, but then he became in a couple of films then as time went on, but not a big film actor over the years. He was also in other things as well, but I'm talking about Tinny Lister. He featured in this film also. So, yes indeed, The Fifth Element is the film I'm talking about. Very interesting film. It's set in the 23rd century. Bruce Willis teams up with Mila Jovovich in the movie to try and get 4 stones, these 4 mystical stones, to try and save the world. So there you go. That is The Fifth Element.
Every 5,000 years.
Remove the shield.
When the 3 planets are in eclipse, the black hole like a door is open. Evil comes, spreading terror and chaos.
There's nothing that can stop this.
There is only one thing.
Perfect.
The Mondachi One have in their possession the only weapon to defeat evil. 4 elements. Gathered around a 5th. They're here.
Hello.
Corbin, sweetheart. You got broken fingers, you can't punch my number?
Hi, Mom.
Welcome on. Have a nice day.
Major Dallas, you're selected for a mission of the utmost importance.
What mission?
Save the world. Is that thing solid?
Unbreakable.
Good. Where are the stones?
I don't know. And even if I did know, I wouldn't tell somebody like you.
There's nowhere else to go.
In God's name, we do such a thing.
Hang on.
Number 3 now on the list of the top 10 futuristic films of the 80s and 90s here on CKTV. Number 3 is another double act because I wanted to place so many. I wanted to show you some clips of each film, so I've got a couple more places where they're joint. So at number 3 now, 2 films, really cool films. The first one stars Jean-Claude Van Damme, Belgian actor, the muscles from Brussels. Also, he is with his nemesis in this movie, Dolph Lundgren, one of the great Swedish actors. Lundgren, of course, in some great films over the years, including Red Scorpion, and I think there was one called Decathlon, and there was another film. A few films from Dolph Lundgren over the years. A lot of ones have come out recently that were very B-movies kind of thing that he's done, but he's getting older too, I suppose, so he doesn't really get the box office numbers he used to. Same with Van Damme, of course. Van Damme was they were both in the Expendables movies over the last few years, but Van Damme, of course, has been in some great films like Double Impact, Bloodsport, so many, Hard Target, so many big films over the years. But the movie they came together in 1993 was the film Universal Soldier, and the idea that the army or the government would get together and they would take the super soldiers and make them into robotic super soldiers. Like these guys are made into cyborgs, and their memories are raised to become super soldiers. And this was the movie Universal Soldier. And this was about these two super soldiers fought against each other. One, of course, Van Damme was going against the whole idea, and Lundgren was their guy that was picked by the powers that be to try and bring down Van Damme, this rogue agent. So it's a very fun film, really, really cool, action-packed movie. Let's have a look. Universal Soldier.
It was a top-secret government project.
Pack them in ice. All of them.
Designed to create the perfect soldier.
No man would ever again have to die in the service of his country.
Cryogenically preserved.
Okay, guys. Memory clearance.
Genetically enhanced.
How's the picture?
Pretty ugly.
Very funny, very funny.
Programmed to obey.
They're at the tower. Okay, here we go.
Who are these guys?
30 hostages held inside the power station at the base of the structure.
I said shut up!
We're inside.
Begin phase 2.
This marks the third successful mission for the Universal Soldier.
But there was something they didn't count on.
He's not responding. GR-44, do you read me?
At the end of the mission, he became completely unresponsive.
Inside the machine is a man.
Do you really think the Pentagon would allow the regeneration of dead soldiers?
Stop the girl. Shoot if you have to.
And all it takes
Veronica Roberts, TNA.
is one memory
You didn't do anything!
to awaken him.
Let's go! Hit it!
Traitor. Universal Soldier.
What the hell did they do to you?
Don't know. But I'm going to find out.
One can't be controlled.
Buckle up.
The other cannot be stopped.
This mission has been canceled.
I'm giving the orders from now on.
I'm gonna teach them all.
Are we having fun yet?
The ultimate weapons of the future have declared war on each other. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren. Universal Soldier.
Stop. That is an order.
Go, cool film, Universal Soldier. And you may recall in that movie, I was just going to say there, that it spawned a couple of sequels, a few sequels. The first sequel was, of course, called Universal Soldier: The Return in about 2000. You may recall it featured Bill Goldberg, the wrestler, and also another sequel came out a few years ago. It was called Universal Soldier: Day of Reckoning, which also featured Van Damme and Lundgren back in the same movie once again. Okay, well, moving on now. Joint number 3 in my list is a film featuring Roddy Piper, former wrestling superstar Roddy Piper, and he was brought in by John Carpenter, who of course is one of the great filmmakers of our era, of the 80s and 90s. Let me see what year this was. I believe it was 1988. Yes, indeed, it was 1988. John Carpenter decided to make a movie called They Live, and this became a cult classic if there ever was one. When Piper, of course, Roddy Piper, he of course became the hero of this movie, and he went on to talk about it for years and years. Of course, Piper died in 2015, but he had talked about it, and he was in so many conspiracy theory shows trying to claim that there's something to this film. And of course, the film They Live is all about the obey and all the discipline stuff, that the undercurrents of what the governments of the world tell you and stuff, and they're trying to, the powers that be of the world trying to get you to obey, get you to all, and that really makes you think. This whole lockdown situation makes you think about things like that. But this film They Live was a really, really big eye opener. And when Piper put on the sunglasses, he's seen everything for what it was, and the different characters for who they were. A lot of people call this a documentary. They say it's not even a film; it's like a documentary, because of to a lot of people, this is all a lot of underlying reality to the world. There you go. So They Live is one of the good ones. Here it is.
What do these things want, and why are they here?
You still don't get it, do you, boy?
They have recruited the rich and the powerful.
They're running the whole show.
Wake up! They're all about you, all around you. Blinded us to the truth.
Take a look. They are safe as long as they are not discovered.
I don't know what they are or where they came from, but we gotta stop them.
Stay away from me.
Put these on. They have us. Look at them. They're everywhere. Our owners.
We have no other choice.
I don't like this one bit.
Leave it alone, man. It ain't none of my business. Ain't none of yours. We have been lulled into a trance.
Listen to what I'm saying to you. We're in trouble. The whole world's in trouble.
Control us.
You're sending some kind of signals on TV sets.
I've got one that can see.
Mama don't like tattletale. Now we start spilling some blood.
Let's go! Push a button.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
There you go, They Live and Universal Soldier Joint, number 3 in my top 10 of the greatest sci-fi, futuristic, postmodern, whatever you want to call them, movies of the 80s and 90s. Well, we've come to the top 2 now, folks, and number 2 on the list, I can tell you, is another joint, double act, and the first of the 2 films is a film featuring the great Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Arnold Schwarzenegger with his second entry in my list tonight. This one is a 1989 movie. 1990, sorry, it was 1990 this one came out, which was, of course, 30 years ago this year. And I'm talking about Total Recall.
Your mind. It is the center of your life. It is everything you hear, everything you see, everything you feel. It is everything you are. How would you know if someone stole your mind?
Arrest that woman!
Quaid.
Cut.
Get ready for a surprise.
We can't let him run around. He knows too much. They've got your bug. I get a lock.
There!
The bug's in your skull.
Take this thing out of the case and stick it up your nose. Don't worry, it's self-guiding.
Got him.
I lost him.
Welcome to Mars.
You got a lot of nerve showing your face around here.
Look who's talking.
They erased your identity and implanted a new one.
If I'm not me, who the hell am I?
He's got a hologram! Welcome to Johnny Cab.
Drive!
Where can I take you tonight? Please fasten your seatbelt. I want Clay delivered alive for reimplantation.
That's for making me come to Mars. You wouldn't hurt me. After all, we're married.
Consider that a divorce.
We hope you enjoyed the ride.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Movie Zone, and you are here on CKTV. It is Kieran Kyo, the Kyoster, hosting tonight, and yet another episode. And tonight's episode, as I was saying, is the top 10 80s and 90s futuristic movies, and I've come to number 2, and we have been talking about the clip you just seen, which was Total Recall, and as of course that was all starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sharon Stone, among other actors that became even more famous after this film. 1990 movie, directed by Paul Verhoeven, who brought us films such as Basic Instinct and the movie you heard of earlier on tonight's show, of course, which was another very good futuristic movie, RoboCop. Okay, so coming up right now, we're going to talk a bit about another movie. The movie that joins number 2 on this countdown. The second last of the movies we're going to speak about tonight. And this one is Star Trek. Star Trek 8 to be precise. First Contact. And this one follows the story. It's like a continuation of the story of Series 3 and 4's double episode. At the very last episode of Season 3 and the start of Season 4, there was an episode called The Best of Both Worlds, and that one saw Jean-Luc Picard, who is of course played by Patrick Stewart, who plays a French character. He's actually English. So Picard is taken by the Borg, which is the most devastating, most dangerous race in the galaxy. That they of course are based in, I think it's, what's the galaxy called? The Delta Quadrant, I believe it's called. And the Borg, they came across the Borg in a few episodes early in the Star Trek Next Generation seasons. But this particular double episode, The Best of Both Worlds, sets up the movie. And Picard becomes Locutus of Borg, and it's like a, of course, coined the phrase "resistance is futile," and that's you might have heard it recently, and maybe politicians saying it's for the whole virus thing, but it actually, the phrase was coined on Star Trek, believe it or not. But this show was very, very good, these episodes. But then Jonathan Frakes, of course, who plays William Riker in the Star Trek series, Commander Riker, he actually directed this movie as well as starred in it. And it was, of course, Star Trek First Contact, the 8th in the Star Trek saga. Of course, the first one, The Next Generation, helmed the movies was 1994's Generations. But now, 4 years later, they have brought out Star Trek First Contact. Of course, this one was followed by Star Trek Insurrection in, I think it was 1999, and then that was 2000. And then Star Trek Nemesis in 2002, which was the last of the 10 Star Trek movies. But the Borg were the enemy in First Contact, and it showed Data becoming a Borg and becoming half Borg, half as he was, of course, an android. But definitely well worth a watch if you haven't seen it, and definitely is one of my favorite reiterations of the Star Trek series saga, and is also one of my favorite sci-fi movies of the 2 decades, the 80s and 90s. Definitely. So here is Star Trek First Contact.
In his nightmares, he can see them. In his mind, he can hear them.
Locutus.
In his soul, he can feel them.
I've just received a report from Deep Space 5. Long-range sensors have picked up...
Yes, I know. The Borg. Set a course for Earth. Maximum warp.
Now, in Earth's darkest hour, he must fight them again.
Captain, Earth. Life signs?
Population approximately 9 billion. All Borg.
How?
Time travel. They went back and assimilated Earth. Changed history. I must follow them back. Repair whatever damage they've done.
But this time, they must travel to the past.
April 4th,
2063.
To save our future.
You're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek. They invade our space, and we fall back. They assimilate entire worlds, and we fall back. Not again. The line must be drawn here.
It looks like the control deck's 26 up to 11.
Mr. Data and I are returning to the ship. Don't let them touch you!
Captain!
Data! We must activate the auto-destruct sequence. You want to destroy the ship and run away. You coward. If you were any other man, I would kill you where you stand.
Let's rock and roll! Destroy them. Watch your futures end.
Our shields and our weapons are gone.
Resistance is futile. Perhaps today is a good day to die.
John, look, blow up the damn ship!
No! We are not going to lose the Enterprise. Not to the Borg, not while I'm in command.
Star Trek First Contact.
Okay, Star Trek First Contact there. Very good trailer that sets up the scene for a great film. Okay, so we've come to the number one movie in the history, in my opinion, in the history of sci-fi, postmodernism, and futuristic movies of the 1980s and 1990s. This one is, how could it be anything else but Terminator 2, Judgment Day. A 1991 film directed by James Cameron, of course, acclaimed director of the likes of films like Aliens, and also films such as the ever excellent Titanic and other movies. Well, Titanic's not really, I never really meant to say that, but it's more cheesy than anything. But what I'm saying is, this is awesome. James Cameron at the helm. His wife at the time, Linda Hamilton, played Sarah Connor in the movie. You had Edward Furlong as John Connor, the leader of the human resistance as time went on. And you had, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger in the third movie that he's mentioned, because he is a king of this genre. So he's definitely in a lot of these type of films. But he's in this is the third that he's in on my countdown. Schwarzenegger plays the T-800, which is in the first movie in 1984, he was the bad guy. He was the bad Terminator that was coming to find Sarah Connor. In the second movie in 1991, he plays the guy that comes to defend and protect John Connor as the T-2000, which was the Terminator played by Robert Patrick. And he, of course, is the liquid robot. And he, of course, was coming to kill John Connor to stop the human resistance from taking over Skynet and the whole war between Skynet, the computers and robots, and the human resistance. So again, there's a bit of a lot of things are coming to be. The robots, of course, there's robots now that are becoming androids, very like human. There's a lot of shit like that going on in the world now, so it reminds you a lot on what's happening. And this stuff has really, a lot of it has come to be. So that's the weird thing about everything. But definitely a great film, and it really has stood the test of time. There's a 3D version that has just been released. And you may recall as well, Terminator 3 came out then in 2003. And then, of course, in 2009, Terminator Salvation, the fourth movie, came out. And then the fifth movie, Terminator Genesis, came out in 2015. And then just this past year, Terminator Dark Fate came out, which was the sixth installment, which was kind of like a reboot. But really, really fun stuff. The Terminator series. I've done the videos before on YouTube about the Terminator series. And in the next while, I might do a new video all about the Terminator timeline and saga. Who knows? But definitely awesome film. I would never. I must have watched. I've watched that movie more than any other movie. It really does. It's like the perfect sci-fi movie. It really does stand the test of time. Well, there you go. That is my countdown of the top 10 futuristic movies of the 80s and 90s, in my opinion. You could have a different opinion. If you want to leave it in the comments below and subscribe, you can. Give me your opinions on what are the best sci-fi movies of the 80s and 90s, best futuristic, with everything going on in the world today. I think it's a very apt thing, very apt countdown to do. Maybe a bit too close to the bone for a lot of people, but it's all movies. It's all fun, scripted stuff, and it's all good fun. So Terminator 2 Judgment Day, probably it's hard to beat that one. All right, well, it has been the Kyoster, Kieran Kyo. I'm gonna bring you to the trailer of Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
The survivors of the nuclear fire called the war Judgment Day. Who sent you?
You did. Get down. Come with me if you want to live.
You just can't go around killing people.
Why? I'm a Terminator. Hasta la vista, baby.
Go! Now! Stay down!
I'll be back.
The survivors of the nuclear fire called the war Judgment Day.
The images feel more real in 3D. There's a lucidity to it. You really feel like you're there. We're talking about 25 years later. A lot of fans of the movie weren't even born when it was made.
Who sent you?
You did. Get down.
So for a lot of people, it'll just be the thrill of seeing it in a movie theater.
Come with me if you want to live.
On top of that, of course, you've got the fact that it's in 3D.
Stay down!
We're working with the best 3D conversion house in the world, which is Stereo D.
Hasta la vista, baby.
To progress very quickly to very good results.
You just can't go around killing people.
Why? I'm a Terminator.
I've been looking at the film as we're completing the 3D. It looks pretty spectacular.
I'll be back.
Okay, so great film, that was actually a trailer of the 3D version, and you'd think it was just a brand new film out, but the way they've vamped it up and made it even all new and everything, which was very, very cool. Okay, well, this has been the Movie Zone, yet another edition. This has been a very long edition. I think I've went over the hour here, but any movie buffs out there may take appreciation and watch it. I don't expect everyone...